Hey guys, I'm Helena. So, yeah, I hope you still recognize me with this hair. I'm not quite so sure if I like it or not. Yeah, well, it'll grow. Anyway, what we're going to do today is to talk about the Ring of the Nibelung. Wrong side. The Ring of the Nibelung. Specifically, first part. We're not going to talk about like the whole thing now. We're first going to go through everything at a time, and then we are going to do the whole thing as one, which is, I think, obvious who's like the bad guy in that, but well. So we're going to start with the Rheingold, and I want to say right now, obviously, that this is probably the most human of Wagner's works, in my opinion, because there is like not one single person who's consistently only good or consistently only, yeah, well, depends on the production. There is no one who's consistently only good. Let's leave it at that. Because everyone has their flaws. And even if we're going into the narrative, which we know Wagner has because he's the one who's writing the libretto and yada yada yada, we've been through that at length. He's got his opinions, and this is where we go in. We go into his opinions in this thing, because, like, objectively, if we look at a few of the decisions that are made, or a few of the people who are presented to us as antagonists, they're not wrong. I'm just saying that. You know, I love Fricka, and she's not wrong. Anyway, going to start with the Rheingold, and we're just looking at the Rheingold today as if it were completely apart from the others, not knowing what will come next, not knowing, yeah, just Rheingold, okay? So we're not going to talk about like, yes, Mime is like, he's treated badly by Alberich now, but later it's good because actually he wants to kill Siegfried. Now, we're not going to do this today, it's just Rheingold, okay? So, we're gonna again go through all the persons. And yeah, again, it's tattered. I've got a new one, but I can't find it right now because I still use this one. Just need to get my feather in order. So, I need a feather as like a bookmark. Anyway, so again, Wotan, he's the primary person where we have to say he's just so ambiguous. He's presented to us, especially in the Rheingold, he's presented to us as the hero. But is he really the hero? Like, if we just look at the facts, straight up. He wants to build this castle, he wants to build Valhall. But he knows that he was not going to pay the giants. He knows that he will need some way to get out of this contract, because he never wanted to pay for this, okay? This is not heroic material. But again, he's the baritone in this, so he's supposed to be our hero. He's presented as such because the others are much worse. And this is like the same thing as we did have in Meistersinger, that just through elimination, he basically becomes the protagonist because there's simply no one else who's got this great of a role. First of all, because if we look at like the others, there's Donna, there's Fro, they come in a pack, let's be real, they are not sold as individuals. Sorry for everyone who actually plays that role, I love those roles, but they are not that text heavy. There's really only 3 people who are really text heavy in this one, and it's Donna and what on earth? And it's Wotan and Loge and Alberich, and those are the 3 to go, basically. No one else has that much text, and also has what we would call in other works of other composers an aria, but in this case, like this big of a monologue. Only those 3 have that. Only those 3 have like a longer period of time where they solely talk. Fricka has that, but she has that in Die Valkyrie, as we know. Don't need to talk about that right now because we're only talking about Rheingold. So again, Wotan, he's ambiguous, and this is why people love him, because he's not purely good or not purely evil. He's just human, shockingly, because he's a god. Anyway, so Wotan, he's ambiguous. Wagner wants us to choose Wotan as the protagonist, as the good in this thing. I mean, he's the protagonist anyway. As the good one in this thing. He desperately wants us to, and he ruins everyone else in the process, because Wotan doesn't kill anyone now in Rheingold. He doesn't kill anyone, so he's better than the giants. He doesn't openly deceive anyone, mostly, and he doesn't wish to, like, run away, and he's not this half creature like Loge. And again, Loge, we all have to remember, Loge is cousin, I think it's cousin, of the Nibelungs. The Nibelungs are again made out to be the Jewish knight figures. So Loge is not directly a Jewish knight figure, but he's related to them. And this is very important because in mythology, Loge is one of the giants. He's not with Wagner. He's decidedly one of the Nibelungs, which makes him related to the evil, which is of course nonsense, as we all know. Talked about this at length. It's like, he was an anti-Semite, of course his narrative would go into his works, as everyone else's. I mean, everyone has a narrative. His was just bad. Anyway. Donna and Fro, we've got them. They've got those beautiful things to sing in the third scene. It's scene, I think. Yeah, fourth scene. I'm sorry. They've got those beautiful moments in the fourth scene with Heda, Hedo, and the rainbow, which are beautiful, but they're not really main character material. Let's be real. So then we've got Loge. We've talked about him. Again, he's got this aria energy, which is not called an aria, but it's a longer monologue. And he's on stage for a considerable amount of time. Like he gets to be on stage quite a lot. But again, he's like tainted by his heritage. You know what? This is 19th century stuff, by the way. 19th century. We should be over that by now. Are we? No. Anyway. So then we get to the Nibelungs, and I've basically already said that they're considered the Jewish knight figures. So Wagner wants us to perceive them as the bad ones. Not Mime yet. But specifically, in this instance, it's more of Alberich. It's primarily Alberich who is supposed to be the bad one, obviously, because he steals the gold, etc. But again, if we only look at Alberich's actions, yes, he curses the gold. Yes, he takes the gold. But what happened before? I feel bad for him. I'm not supposed to feel bad for him, obviously. It's not like he was written to be felt bad for him. But, I mean, we've all been played with by someone. And if not, I'm sorry for you, because that's a valuable life lesson. But we've all been played with. We all had our heart broken. I don't think Alberich has one, but you know what I mean. He's being played with. He's being toyed with. He's being deceived. I'm sorry for that. Bro, no one should have to go through this. Which doesn't make his actions great, but it makes them more understandable. But Wagner doesn't want us to see it this way. He decidedly doesn't. Just the way he writes it, and this is a big thing, by the way. Just look at media today and then look at their choices of words. And then you say, okay, are those words good connotations or bad ones? Just saying. I don't know. Can't think of anything right now. for example, the word climate crisis, it's like badly connotated. If you said like climate situation, I don't know, then it wouldn't be as bad as if you say climate crisis. It's always, when you say crisis, then it's always a bad connotation, and they want you to feel this way. Just saying. So this is the same thing that Wagner does with Alberich. He destroys him through music and through words, because this is horrible what happens to Alberich. like by 3 women. Of course he'd want his revenge. It's natural. It's human. even for Nibelung. So then the next ones are obviously the giants, who also don't have this great of a monologue, and also come in a 2-pack, not sold separately. So we've got Fasold and Fafner, and again, they just want to be paid. They've done their labor, and this is quite different from the mythology, because if we went into mythology, the giants already deceived the gods. Like, it's just one giant at this point. So we're gonna go into a bit of mythology at this point, because why not? Because it's not about how Valhalla was built, but a wall around all of Asgard, and there was a guy who just came to the gates one day and said, "Hi, I could build this," and the gods were like, you're a little teeny tiny thing, you can build this. And he was like, yeah, I've got my stallion, we can do this. And they like made a contract and this and that, and the thing, that little person, for the gods little, by the way, not an actual little person, human size. He was like, yeah, I want Freya and the sun and the moon, because I like pretty things. And the gods were like, yeah, why? We can't give that to you, like sun and moon and Freya. No. By the way, this is not the thing with the golden apples. This is Idun in mythology. Idun and Freya were kind of mixed up in Wagner. So this has nothing to do with them not being, well, not being immortal anymore. So Loge kind of made a contract, aka Loki, for everyone who doesn't know. Loki kind of made this contract that said, yeah, you've gotta finish it in this and this amount of time. And they were like, yeah, he's like human-sized. They were no humans at this point, but he was human-sized. He wouldn't get that. He wouldn't get that done. And the gods counted on that. And when he started to build it, they were like, oh, this is not a human. And it was actually, I think it was even the king of the giants. So he got through that much faster. Yeah, that's kind of the story. So the giant deceived the gods first, and then the gods deceived the giants by sending Loki out as a, what is it? A female horse, a mare, I think. Not sure. As a female horse to like seduce the stallion, and then he wouldn't be able to help with the wall anymore. And then Loki became pregnant and had a lot of little cute tiny, no, he didn't. He had like one son with 8 legs in horse form. He gifted it to Wotan, obviously, but it's called Sleipnir. Anyway, this was a lot of mythology for this one. So this isn't in this. They just want to be paid. They've made a contract in Wagner. Fasold and Fafner, they've made a contract, they've done their work, it's gone, it's good, it's gone. They just want to get paid. But they don't. Because why would they? Because it was never meant to be a valid contract anyway. And specifically, they leave out that part where the gods deceive the giants by sending Loki out and by saying, yeah, we're going to get him on a time limit so small that they won't be able to fulfill it. Wagner leaves that out because it would shine an even worse light on Wotan than if you said, yeah, he's just not gonna pay them. Just saying. So then we've got the goddesses. Obviously, other than Erda, none of them have this big of a an aria moment. Again, Fricka doesn't have that yet. Freya never has it. It's a thing. So they're out of the race for good and evil. Anyway, the Rhine maidens, like, I would argue on that they are evil if we just look at the facts, but on the other hand, they're just like young girls who are stupid. And show me a young girl that isn't stupid. I'm seeing one right now because, like, the camera's facing me and I see myself. So I see a young girl who was stupid. Yes, was. I'm 25. And I still can't drink. Anyway. So the Rhine maidens are out. So we are kind of left with Alberich, Loge and Wotan. So these are the three guys that we're left with again, because they have their aria moments and they are bigger roles just when looking at Rheingold alone. We know how Wagner feels about them. We know he's got his personal ranking. He's got Germanic light figure related to Jewish night figure. So we've got Wotan, Loge and Alberich. And if they're really that good or that evil remains to be, like, out in the open. I think Alberich really gets it when he later, like, becomes the king of the Nibelungs, and he tortures the other Nibelungs and makes them do extra work and really hard work compared to what they did before, like with the, what was it, when Mime says, yeah, we just made gold and pretty things for our wives before, and now we have to really work, and so that Alberich can get richer. So this is kind of where Alberich's really, Wagner gives him that, because he says, yeah, Alberich has to be worse than that, because people might pity him if they only look at the first scene, like me. But he gets him that back scene when he, like, even, I think, not even slaps, but, like, physically assaults, like, not as in rape, obviously, but he beats him, he beats Mime, and I think kicks him, and Mime just cries out a lot of times in that moment. So he's bad. Let's say it like this. We leave Mime out for now, again, just looking at Rheingold. So Mime is kind of the victim in this moment. He gets his bad scene later on, as we know, which is kind of not cohesive with what we learn about Mime in the beginning. But I suppose that's just kind of Wagner's narrative. And then we've got Loge, who deceives people and who's just too good with his tongue, I think Wagner would put it. Which is kind of ironic because, of course, Wagner himself obviously was great at talking, as all Gemini are probably. I've talked with someone, like, about this, and it's like a 50-50 chance if you're actually like your star sign or not, but apparently Gemini are talkative. I said, like, after 19 minutes of talking, I was born 2 days after Wagner. Missed it. Anyway, not that I didn't try, but they sent my mom home on the 22nd, just saying. It was not my fault. I tried. But, like, for Wagner, this wasn't necessarily a good trait to be so talkative that you could talk yourself out of anything. But yeah, so we really are only left with Wotan, and Wotan is kind of framed as this guy who just trusted the wrong people, unfortunately. I mean, he wanted his castle. Come on, people. He's not, like, it's not his fault. He just wanted his nice big castle without paying for it. Which is not the way to go, by the way. Just pay for it, people. This could have been shortened. On the other hand, then we wouldn't have this if everyone would have just been sensible. So, I guess we can live with that. So we're only really left with Wotan being the good guy, because everyone is, well, not mistreated, but, like, ruined even more. like Alberich with the scene where he kicks and where he slaps and where he whatever does to Mime, he was out for me. Like, this is not how you handle, first of all, your employees, and he's your brother even more. Like, no boy, you're out. Okay, so again, Alberich's out. He's got this scene. Then Loge, Wagner kind of gives Loge that thing in the last second where Loge's like, yeah, I think this is too difficult for me. I'm out. I'm gonna be like in fire form for the rest of this thing. Peace. So this is kind of what Loge does. And Wagner gives him that like in the last 5 seconds of it, which of course is in this case necessary. We just gotta be very clear, this is not a David situation where it's like, why? Literally, why, boy? This doesn't mean anything, it's just to make you look bad. No, this is actually narratively necessary. And Loge is therefore kind of ruined. I'd say probably if we really talked about, well, who's supposed to be the protagonist and antagonist, it's obviously Wotan and Alberich. Then who's the good and evil? Probably, like, who's doing the worst thing? That might be the next question. Who's doing the worst thing? And this is, I would say, depends on the production, because in the current, still current, by Reutring, by Valentin Schwarz, there's very, very clear signs that, like, Freya has been raped. So, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. By Fasold. And he looks disheveled and she's basically, and by disheveled I mean like half not dressed, and she's traumatized to a high degree and she kills herself after this. And in this case, I would say that Fasold's, he's the evil one. Let's be real. Fasold in this situation, with what he does in this Rheingold, and we've got a lot of stuff in this Rheingold, in this Valentin Schwarz Rheingold. We've got like a child with a pistol to his head, basically. We've got that in the first 20 minutes. But in this case, for me, Fasold's really the evil one, and this was made more and more, by the way. At least last year he was so disheveled. I think in the years before it wasn't that extreme. I can't remember that. I was in the Rheingold 3 times. And there's obviously what is it? Not stage entertainment, but there's an app where you can watch it, which I don't have, but there was once, I think, on YouTube. It's somewhere. Anyway, he was never so disheveled, I think. And in this case, like, for me, Fasold would clearly be the evil one, and Freya would clearly be the good one. And she's probably the purest character. If we're talking about purity, then she's the good one. She's the good force of it, but she's ruined by all the others because she's sold, and then she's potentially, maybe or maybe not, she's raped in some productions. So she is one of the good ones, as is probably Fricka, because she's like, yeah, if you guys would have just let us girls have a word in this would have never happened. And Wotan's like, yeah, but I wouldn't also have gotten my castle, because so this was worth it sending you out. Anyway, probably on the purity factor, like if we go who gets the least ruined, it's probably Freya, because, and I mean ruined by Wagner, not ruined by other characters, because obviously Freya gets ruined by other characters. She doesn't not get ruined by Wagner. She is probably the purest and the best, which again, she's a soprano, obviously. But she's probably the way to go if we look at purely good in this one. And if we look at purely bad one, I'd say it's like a tie between Fasold and Alberich. Maybe Fafner, because Fafner obviously kills Fasold. But yeah, I think if we talk about the main roles, which we like normally do, again, as we did in Tristan and Isolde, like Freya has meant much less to say than Brangäne has, and we didn't treat Brangäne as a real competitor in this thing about good and evil. So I would say we'll leave Freya out too, and we'll leave it at Wotan, maybe Loge and Alberich, and then it's pretty clear, like, Wotan's probably the best option. And no one of us likes it, because Wotan's not the best guy. But again, that's human. Unfortunately. We all have good and we all have bad in us, and it just matters which of them wins. Wisdom for the day. Anyway, so I think that was it with Rheingold. I think that you get what I want to say about the ring being about humans, even though there, at least in the Rheingold, there are no humans. But we're really dealing with ambiguity here. And I think next week, when we talk about the Valkyrie, we might even more have to go into the good and evil versus protagonist and antagonist, because in this case, I think it's even clearer that protagonist and good is not the same thing. Just saying, I think that probably it's very evident who's the good one, who's the pure one, with an aria-like monologue. And it's depends on that, who's like antagonist and the evil. And also we have like different worlds to deal with, because we have a good and the evil in the mortal world, / a protagonist and antagonist in the mortal world, and we have those in Asgard, mainly. So this could be interesting. Yeah, I hope you weren't too distracted by my hair. I know I was. So it's still very weird. It's like 1 week and those bangs, they're not doing what I want. Because why would they? I can't make fun of my mother for like at least 10-20 years for not having her bangs under control and then have mine under control. It wouldn't be fair. She needs to make fun of my bangs now. So anyway, have a nice day and think of Wagner and listen to Wagner, and yeah, be happy and be merry and whatever. It's so depressing out there. It's just grey and ugly, and I don't want this stuff anymore. It's too cold and it's snowing again. It's horrible. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye.